Okay, hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thank you so much for being here. All right, my name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. I'm so happy to be here with you today. All right, today I want to talk about a few different things, but the topic 3 weeks ago, I presented on the topic, what would happen to your immigration case if Kamala Harris wins the election? Well, to be fair, I want to do another conversation here and ask the question, hey, what would it mean for your immigration case if Donald Trump wins the election? All right, so that's my topic for today. And I want to talk about Biden's parole in place process because there's news regarding that. And so welcome, and thank you so much for being here. Remember that the Empowered Immigrant Live is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. Okay? So what would it mean for your immigration case if Donald Trump wins the election? Let's talk that over. What's going on with this parole in place process? Let's talk that over. Bottom line, always, I like to ask the question, hey, do you want to get a green card this year, or apply for asylum this year, or apply for citizenship this year, or apply for something that would improve your quality of life, your legal situation, so that you can have more freedom to live the life you want this year? Because if so, go for it. All right, go for it. And I'd love to help you with that, if that makes sense for you. My name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. I'd love to help you in any way I can with your case, with your process. All right? So let me talk some news, right? There's this new parole in place program, keeping families together. All right? It started on Monday of last week. Then on Friday of last week, there was a lawsuit filed against this program. Okay? And then on Monday of this week, a federal judge in the Eastern District of Texas issued an order requiring that the government pause their adjudication of these cases. All right? So thank you, everybody, for tuning in here today, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Okay? And so let's talk about this Biden parole in place program, and let's talk about the pause that's in place. Before I get into that, I'd love to discuss the eligibility criteria for this program. There are 5 requirements, remember. All right, those 5 are: 1, as of June 17th, 2024, you have to have been married to a U.S. citizen. 2, as of June 17th, 2024, you have to have 10 years of continuous physical presence in the United States. 3rd is you cannot have been lawfully inspected and admitted or paroled into the U.S. before. 4th, you cannot be a threat to national security, public safety, and you can't have disqualifying criminal history. And 5, you must merit a favorable exercise of discretion. All right, that's the eligibility criteria. And now what has happened, and we knew this from the beginning, is that this has faced a legal challenge in federal court. And several states filed a lawsuit, all right, challenging this new program, saying that it's unlawful. All right, and there's many arguments in their complaint as to why it's unlawful, but basically one of the arguments is that parole in place needs to be a specific person-by-person, individualized assessment, and that therefore they say it's an unlawful method of granting this type of benefit if we just create a process and let large groups of people apply for this all at the same time. However, our argument is that, well, wait a second, the government is still doing an individualized analysis, case by case, of these cases. And so anyway, that and many other arguments are inside of this lawsuit, and they will all be considered by the federal district court judge in Texas eventually. But for now, the judges said, hey, you know something, while we're looking at all of this, and while we're evaluating all of this, we're going to pause, we're going to issue a pause, an administrative stay for 14 days. All right? So for 14 days, 2 weeks, we've got a pause. Now, during this time, people can still submit an application for this benefit, but during this time, the government cannot adjudicate, cannot issue a decision about this benefit. They can still do biometrics appointments. They can still, go through, they can still receive the applications. They just can't issue an approval of any of these cases during this 14-day pause. And so that's where we're at. All right. And if you want to talk through whether it makes sense for you to apply for this, or if you want to talk through, what this all means for your case or your strategy, or whether this even matters for you, then great. I'd love to talk that through. The best way to do that is by having a consultation about your immigration situation, and we can talk through all of those issues. Okay? So that's that. That's that. So now I want to talk about and get into our topic of the day, which is politics. All right? And I personally, I don't know, like what I do is political, right? I fight for the rights of immigrants who are facing deportation. All right? I love immigrants. I believe that immigrants are awesome. All right? I believe that our society ought to value immigrants, and it bothers me that our society devalues, all right, the contributions of foreign nationals that come to the U.S. It's really hypocritical, I think, because our nation is, in very large part, a nation of immigrants. I think immigrants are awesome. I myself have lived in 5 different countries throughout the world, and it's so cool. All right, to get to know someone, to meet someone, to understand someone from a different cultural background, breaking through a language barrier, a cultural barrier, etc. Like, it opens your mind. And because of that, it's like immigrants actually provide something of enormous value, not just to the United States, but to any society. Okay? And I believe that to my core. I mean, that's why I am an immigration lawyer. All right? I could do a lot of other things, but I actually believe in this work. And so it's like, okay, yes, what I am doing, it is political. And yet, between you and me, I hate politics. All right, I hate politics. They're so negative. It's so divisive. It's like I'm too positive of a person to enjoy politics. Politics is just garbage for me. All right, I hate politics. That's a secret between you and me. Yet I act politically because I believe in something that matters to me. Okay, and so that's my own personal viewpoint. All right. Nevertheless, today we are talking politics, and 3 weeks ago I did a session on, hey, what would happen to your immigration case if Kamala Harris wins the election? And so if you're curious about that, feel free to go back in time and go on our YouTube channel and find that video and check it out. But in fairness, all right, I want to do a session today called, what would happen to your immigration case if Donald Trump wins the election? Okay? So that's my topic for today. Thank you for tuning in. So this is no surprise to anybody, right? Donald Trump is anti-immigrant. He runs on an anti-immigrant platform. He's talking about mass deportations, all right, which is scary. It's also nonsense, people. It's just garbage. It is so stupid. All right? And so let's talk about it. Like, what would his administration likely do? We can guess based on what's written at the Make America Great Again materials that are out there, the 2025 plan and other places. We can guess based on what the Trump administration did in their first round, all right, which was awful, all right? Here's my best guess as to what would actually happen if Trump were to win. These are not good things, and at least from my perspective and from the perspective of my clients. Yet they're important to talk through and think about, all right? Don't listen to this feeling like, oh, nervous and fearful. Listen to this thinking like, okay, that would be his plan, so what can I do about it? What can I do now to, maximize my chances of getting through this without issue? So these are my best guess of what his administration would likely do, and maybe even do very quickly if they were to win the election. Number one, he would simply remove, delete, change, undo the PD memos, the prosecutorial discretion memos that are currently in place under the Biden administration. He would change the enforcement priorities, which is the memo that ICE uses to see, okay, who is going to be allowed to stay in the U.S. versus who is going to be subject to actually being, receiving immigration enforcement. Does that make sense? All right. So you get rid of the PD memos and basically just tell ICE to pursue the deportation of those who they can legally pursue that against. Who is that? Well, it's basically anybody who already has a deportation order against them. All right? ICE can go and find and actually deport people who already have deportation orders against them. And so what should you do about that if you have that knowledge? If you're not sure whether or not you have a deportation order against you, you should get sure about that. The way we do that is we request all your records. All right? Like, let's be sure. I was speaking to a gentleman yesterday who has a deportation order against him signed by a judge, and he was like, no, he was adamant, no, it's voluntary departure. And I was like, sir, maybe they flat out lied to you. Maybe they flat out told you something that was inaccurate. But here's the order signed by the judge. It says you're ordered deported. All right, and I got the date. And it's like, anyway, it's important to know the difference between the way different orders are signed by immigration court judges. And if there's a way to fix it, hey, let's fix it. There's motions to reopen. There's things we can do, right? There's things we could at least get ready for if there were an immigration emergency. Hey, well, that's what lawyers are here for. We can help with that, okay? Second thing that Trump would do is he would seek to reduce the number of green cards and visas that are approved for people coming into the U.S. Like, he would actually seek to discourage lawful immigration. And he has supported various measures that would do that, okay? The third thing that he would do is he would implement and start using E-Verify. All right, E-Verify is a process that the government uses to verify someone's employment authorization at their work. And they compare the Social Security card or the Social Security number with the DHS, Department of Homeland Security databases to make sure that things match, to make sure that someone's eligible to work in a job. And so there have been various proposals which which Trump has supported in the past, that would require E-Verify basically uniformly across almost all jobs in the U.S. That would be very sad and frustrating for a lot of my clients and a lot of people who are undocumented throughout the U.S. who are trying to work. Okay? The fourth thing that he very much will do and has continued to do even as he is campaigning right now is he often, and will continue to, in my opinion, blow things out of proportion with the press. And often the things that he blows out of proportion is the badness of immigrants, right? It's very frustrating to listen to Trump if you've listened to him because there's just misinformation given about the contribution of immigrants to the country. And but he uses that to raise people's emotions about not just immigration issues but other political issues, and you know, it's misinformation spreading, which is just kind of scary in all kinds of ways. Anyway, the fifth thing that he would do is he would do what he can to reduce asylum seekers. So you remember in his first administration, they separated children from parents at the border, which was very scary, and there were lawsuits about it, and they cannot legally do that again. But think about the intention behind that. Like, they could find other things. They also created the Remain in Mexico program to basically stop asylum seekers. They also were those that implemented Title 42, you know. Of course, that was under the COVID-19 pandemic, but that pretty much closed down the border during that time, all right? The sixth thing that we can predict is more travel bans. You can remember the Muslim travel ban in 2017, like the same week that Trump took office back then, in the name of national security, just like banning certain people, even if they have lawful immigration status, from entering the U.S. The seventh thing that we can anticipate is pressure on immigration judges to have more hearings, to decide more cases, and basically to deny more people immigration status, deport more people, which is really frustrating. Anyway, I'm sorry to paint a relatively bad picture in terms of what we could expect, but you got to know it, right? You got to know it. The first Trump administration was awful. The second one would probably be worse for immigrants and for immigration lawyers, and so what do you think through now? You know, what do you think through now? Well, first of all, you know, if you don't have a lawyer, you should have one, all right? Second of all, like, get your things in order, right? Get your records. Get your plan in place. You know, if you're eligible for a motion to reopen, talk that through. If you're eligible for a green card or asylum or some other benefit, think that through. If it's not wise to file that case right now for whatever reason, but as a last resort you need to file it, then talk that through. You know, that could be your game plan, right? It could be your game plan. You know, the other things to think about is, hey, it ain't over yet, right? We're in August 29th. We've got an election coming up in November, all right? And so it's like, you know, as immigrants, we can't vote, but talk to U.S. citizens that are around you, right? Share your truth, right? Share your truth. Be honest. Be accurate with people and be like, yo, you know, this election means something to whether or not I can even still be in the U.S. potentially. All right? I've got a person who is relatively close to me who, you know, doesn't get. He's got a close friend who's an undocumented immigrant. And he's like, he doesn't get what the political consequences of his vote could be. Right? Like, you got to pay attention to what your vote means. Anyway, if you're a U.S. citizen watching this, your vote matters, all right? Your vote matters, not just like it's not just about taxes, right? It's not just about taxes. It's about human beings and human beings' lives and the freedoms that people have, right? Freedom to work and live and do what they want to do and go where they want to go and everything else, right? That's what immigration's about. Okay? So, anyway, that's really all I got. That's all I got for today. If you have questions, please submit your questions. I'd love to ask them, and I see one here by Veronica. Hello, Veronica. You say, I have a T visa pending since October 2023. How much more time until I get an approval? All right, if you know the processing times. You know, the last I checked T visa processing times, it depends. There's different offices that adjudicate them. The last I checked T visa processing times, it was 8 months. All right? So if you submitted it in October of 2023, you should have received it already. And so, sometimes there's complications on cases. Sometimes you can do inquiries about it. Sometimes you can follow up with the government about it if they're outside of normal processing times. And if there's any complication or issue with your case that might have caused that delay, we could talk that through if you'd like. Let's see, you asked a follow-up question. On October 25th, USCIS is sending a work permit bona fide, on August 25th, work permit bona fide to those that have T visas pending, and are they just sending those out without me to have to do anything? So you have to make sure that an I-765, basically you have to make sure that your T visa was complete, all right, including the form I-765, including all of the required evidence, all right, for your T visa. And then as long as it included all of the required evidence, then you should be okay to receive the that work permit. But man, you should also be able to not just have the bona fide determination, you should be able to get your approval relatively soon, because T visas, they're much quicker. For those who aren't aware, a T visa is for victims of human trafficking, right? And there's several requirements and what constitutes that. But, some people don't know this, right? If you were promised your visa by someone who got you a visa and got you into the U.S., and then once you were here, they basically forced you to work for them in exchange for that visa, that's trafficking, okay? That's trafficking, and you could talk that through with a lawyer. That's illegal, right? If somebody sponsored a visa or sponsored your entry into the U.S., and you're here in the U.S. because they brought you here, and now they're making you work, and you're not free to leave and go work someplace else, that actually is trafficking, and you might be eligible for a T visa, okay? And so if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out. We could talk that through. Veronica, thank you and good luck with your case. And, we could at least do a second opinion or full analysis of what's been filed in your case to see if there's anything, anything that's not done correctly or anything on that might have caused the delay. Okay? So, all right, okay, you're asking another question. Thank you. Keep them coming, right? So you say, what happens after the approval since I have a final deportation order since 2014? Veronica, thank you for sharing this. All right, there's a lot of folks in your situation. And so what you need to do is once you get the T visa approval notice, there's a process that you need to go through, all right? And it's basically a motion to reopen and dismiss your deportation order. And you do that with the T visa approval, and you can send that to the court, and it's a relatively simple motion, and you just say, hey, court, I'm no longer deportable because I've got a visa now, and so please reopen my case and cancel that deportation order and dismiss my court proceedings, and now I've got my visa, and then you'll be eligible eventually to adjust status and apply for your green card. Okay? I got to get that T visa approved first, though. But that's the way it works. That's the same way it works for U visa holders. All right, if you have a deportation order but you have a U visa, great, you can win your U visa. And then once your U visa is approved, you've got to file that motion to the court to tell them that your U visa was approved, show the approval notice, and then they can reopen and dismiss your case in court. Okay? All right, so I guess that's it. I mentioned this. I'm a political human being, but I do hate politics. It's true. And I do love immigrants. And so if you are, if you've got a case, if you need help, if you've got questions, I'd love to meet with you. I'd love to talk with you. My team is really outstanding. My whole team is on the same page. All right. And so if you've got a case, hey, we're here to help. We'd love to help. My empowerment tip, really quick, politics are politics. All right. I want you to live your life to the fullest, regardless of politics. All right. The best way to do that is think it through. All right. Think it through. Be prepared, whether it's Kamala, whether it's Donald. All right. Think it through. So that you're prepared no matter who wins. And let's plan it out and let's figure it out and let's get together and let's strategize what's the best advice in your situation, regardless of who wins the presidency. That's really my message for today. Thank you all so much for being here. All right. If this was useful, if this was helpful, please go to our channel in YouTube and hit the subscribe button. All right. And when you do that, hit the notifications bell as well. You can receive a notification whenever we upload an additional video in the future. And, if you have any immigration question, case, etc. that you want help with, we're just a phone call away. We're here to help. We'd love to help. Thanks so much for joining. My name's Otis Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And I'll see you next time on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.